Now, acetic acid is really important when it comes down to fatty acid metabolism. One of the main things that people talk about when it comes down to apple cider vinegar is its ability to help you burn fat. Well, let's talk about how that works. You see, this acetic acid does something to fatty acid upregulation. Whenever we consume dietary fats, our bodies start to break them down into triglycerides, and then they recompose them into fatty acids that are utilized for fuel. Well, if we increase the upregulation of fatty acid oxidation, that means that we're actually increasing how many fatty acid molecules are utilized for energy, thereby increasing our metabolism. Now, the other thing that we have to look at is how it actually affects genes in our body. You see, acetic acid actually turns on genetic mechanisms within our body that program the body to start utilizing more fatty acids. So it's not just doing it from a metabolic sense, it's actually doing it from a genetic sense as well, which leads you to argue that it could actually change how your body metabolizes food long term, if you use things like apple cider vinegar or coconut vinegar over the long haul. The other thing we want to look at is the unique utilization of something called uncoupling protein. To what uncoupling protein to is the body's ability to utilize fatty acids to increase body temperature. And if we increase these levels of uncoupling protein, too, we increase thermogenesis with each given fatty acid that is oxidized. What that means is that you are going to elicit more of a thermogenic response burning each and every fatty acid molecule when you have acetic acid in the equation, thereby increasing your metabolism, increasing that fire within the body. The next thing that we have to look at with acetic acid is how it affects the glycemic index, how it affects the glycemic load of a given starch. See, whenever we consume carbohydrates, we have things in our body that start to break them down into glucose. And then these glucose molecules have to ride on certain chains and certain transport mechanisms to get throughout the rest of the body. Well, one thing that acetic acid does that is pretty darn cool is it limits those numbers of glucose transporters. So you have less available Ubers in a sense to pick up these glucose molecules and driving around the body. Therefore, you have more carbohydrates that are just sticking in the gut, getting digested and metabolized and pushed out through the body versus glucose molecules that are getting delivered to different cells in the body, ultimately, or potentially getting stored as fat. Well, the first we want to look at is the mother that you hear people talk about, the mother all the time. Whenever you get apple cider vinegar, you want to get the one that says it has the mother? Well, the thing is, the mother is a web-like structure of different proteins and amino acids and ultimately bacterias that create this structure. That gives us a lot of overall gut health and immune health. Most of the differences have to come with mineral content. We look at coconut vinegar. We have to remember that coconut trees are usually growing in very, very nutrient-rich areas. They're close to the ocean, and they end up having a lot of minerals in the soil simply because it's coming from lava rock. Usually very nutrient-rich soil. It has a lot of phosphorus, a lot of iron, a lot of magnesium, a lot of potassium, and actually a lot of sodium as well. For example, if we take a look at what a liter of coconut vinegar has in the way of potassium versus a liter of apple cider vinegar, there's 10,300 milligrams of potassium in 1 liter of coconut vinegar. There's 90 milligrams of potassium in 1 liter of apple cider vinegar. So you see, we have to weigh out all these different things. And if you're on a low-carb diet or you're fasting, your body is excreting minerals like crazy. So it's extremely, extremely imperative that you're getting these minerals in one way or the other. If we have a lot of potassium, we're able to draw water into the cell. Thereby the cell's able to be balanced. We have that proper sodium-potassium balance with those pumps. Sodium is gonna draw the water out of the cell, potassium is gonna drop back in. Very, very critical to having energy when you're fasting, when you're on a keto diet. So you're probably wondering at this point, which one is better? You're always talking about apple cider vinegar. But now you're saying that coconut vinegar is better? Well, here's the end all be all. They're both tremendous. They both have amazing attributes when it comes down to assisting you in digesting and assisting the ability to uptake minerals. But if you are selling as finding that you're extremely fatigued, When you're on a keto diet, you're extremely fatigued when you're fasting. You may want to give coconut vinegar a try and see if you have improvement over using apple cider vinegar. If you do see improvement by utilizing coconut vinegar, it's a very telltale sign that you've been mineral deficient. And you can combat that same issue by just adding some extra salt to your diet or adding some extra salt to your water throughout the course of the day. But the end all be all for you to know on this is if you're trying to get more digestive health, you're trying to get overall balance and more bacteria from the mother, apple cider vinegar is the way to go. If you're trying to get more of a mineral balance, then of course the coconut vinegar is the way to go.